For Entrepreneurship and the Minority Small Business Launch Center. I am your host, Dr. Patrice Perry Rivers. I am the director of the VSU Center for Entrepreneurship and an associate professor of strategic management in the College of Business at Virginia State University. Before we start, what I'd like to do is to show you a 1-minute video about our Minority Small Business Launch Center. I know for those of you who are in our cohort, this is something that you probably have already seen, but we have different people in each session. So I'm just going to take this 1.5 minute time to just show this video. We are a Go Virginia project that was created as a pre-accelerator for entrepreneurship. And what we'd like to do is to increase the entrepreneurship participation rate of minorities and the performance of early stage firms, regardless of minority status, in the Richmond metropolitan statistical area. Our program is implemented by the VSU Center for Entrepreneurship and the Division of Research and Economic Development at VSU. And we are committed to assisting all small business owners in the Richmond MSA who seek our assistance with launching and or growing their firms. So what we offer are business development training and an array of services to current and prospective business owners to help you launch and scale. And we are very grateful to be supported by an array of regional partners, including chambers, entrepreneurship support organizations, municipalities, banks, the SBA, the SBSD, and other higher ed institutions and more. As I mentioned earlier, our grantor is Go Virginia. It's a statewide initiative to foster private sector job creation and growth through state incentives for regional collaboration by business, education, and government. We are funded by the Region 4, which is the Richmond Metropolitan Statistical Area Council. We received, fortunately, $453,000 to implement our program over a 2-year period. And then we also received about $240,000 in cash and in-kind match funding from organizations and individuals from across the region. And so we're very excited to be able to provide this assistance. So I'd like to talk a little bit about our speaker today. So Doris L. Edmonds, Attorney Edmonds, is a retired lawyer with over 42 years of legal experience. She was a general practitioner that specialized in business law, among other areas, and she has incorporated or established legal firms for over 100 businesses. She was the managing attorney of the Senior Law Center for the Tidewater Legal Aid Society, which means that she was responsible for overseeing the legal services for all low-income seniors in Hampton Roads, which is our second largest MSA in Virginia. She's a former prosecutor for the city of Portsmouth, and she was an assistant professor and the assistant director of clinical education at William & Mary's Marshallwood School of Law, which is where she obtained her law degree. She holds the distinction of being the first African-American woman to teach at the law school, and they have her featured on their law school site for that accomplishment. So we'd like to welcome Attorney Edmonds, and we're grateful for you sharing your wisdom and expertise with us today. I am going to pass everything over to you.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to be with you today to share with you on the choices that you need to make when you're choosing a business structure. Choosing a business structure for your business is one of the most important decisions that you will make regarding your business, because it can impact the taxes you have to pay. In addition to impacting the taxes you have to pay, it can also impact the legal liability that you will suffer if you do not have protection by virtue of the type of entity that you choose. So I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can look at my PowerPoint as I go over it with you. Choice of business legal form for entrepreneurs. Two of the most important things that you can do is choose a trusted attorney and choosing a business entity. Excuse me, choosing an attorney is very important because it will help you throughout your lifetime. When you consider who are you going to choose as an attorney, you need to choose someone with several years of legal experience, but who is willing to explain your legal options. They're willing to sit down with you and listen to what your concerns are and give you the best advice that they can give you with regard to your options. Someone with whom you can build a long-term relationship. If you go in the office and you're short with him and he or she is short with you, then perhaps you want to search a little bit further. Someone who has an understanding of your industry. That's very helpful because each industry has its own requirements. Someone who can anticipate your legal needs. It should be someone who has practiced law long enough to know what things you're likely to experience and how you can resolve the problems that come up. Someone who can serve as a resource and a person with whom you can network. If you do not have an attorney or know anyone or have someone in mind that you would like to handle your legal services for you for your business, you should contact the Virginia State Bar Lawyer Referral Service, and they will provide you with attorneys that you might be able to select from. In addition, you should select a CPA. CPAs are very important, and as we know from certain issues that are presently in the news, CPAs generally stick by you all the way till the end. So it's important to get a CPA with whom you can trust and with whom you feel has your best interest at heart. These are some of the things that you're likely to experience when you are trying to decide what you're going to do. These are the things you should consider. First of all, the cost and maintenance. There are certain costs that are going to be involved depending on what type of entity you choose. If you have a sole proprietorship, which we'll go over later, there are no filing fees, but for all of the other types of entities, there are filing fees with the State Corporation Commission. You should also consider your tax liability and whether or not your entity will provide you with pass-through taxation. What pass-through taxation means is that the assets that you gain and money and things that you gain, you will be able to claim them on your individual taxes rather than to be double taxed, where the corporation, if you have a corporation, would be taxed, and then you would be taxed again when you receive payment from the corporation. You should also consider your legal liability. Legal liability is extremely important because if you don't have protection to protect your personal assets, then if you commit an error in your representation of someone in your business or in the services you provide to them, then it's a possibility that you can be sued. And if you don't have an entity that protects you from legal liability, then that means your personal assets, including your house, your car, whatever it is that you own, will be subject to being possessed or being attached by your creditor or your client. Another aspect to consider is ownership management. The best thing about a sole proprietorship is that there's no doubt who the owner is. It's you, it's your business, it's in your name, it's what you do, it is who you are. So that's one good thing about the sole proprietorship that we will discuss. But when you select the type of entity that you're going to use for your business, it's important to consider other aspects as well. If you want to join in with someone else, you might consider a partnership, or you might consider an LLC. And we'll go into all of those different types of entities later. And if you do a corporation, you would have shareholders, or if you did a partnership, you would have partners. And each of those entities have different degrees of flexibility. The most formal of all of the entities is the corporation, which we'll discuss. And an important issue in deciding which type of business entity you want to select is, who do you want to be the decision maker? Do you want to be the person making the decisions, or do you want to have a board of directors who makes the decisions that you would then have to abide by? So you need to consider all of those factors when you are making a determination as to what you're going to do. So the different types of business entities that are recognized in the state of Virginia are the sole proprietorship, a general partnership, a limited partnership, the C corporation, the S corporation, a Virginia business trust, and the limited liability company. Let's go over each of them. A sole proprietorship is someone who owns an unincorporated business by himself or herself. We've heard the adage, the buck stops here. Well, truly the buck stops there in a sole proprietorship, because you're in charge of making all decisions, and you're also responsible for any and all liabilities that occur. If you do something and a client doesn't like it and they sue you, then your personal assets are subject to being attached. There are few recurring costs beyond the local business license fees and fees to maintain your business name when you select the sole proprietorship. There's no state filing fee that you have to do. The individual and the business are identical. So you are the business and the business is you. So that has positive things and it has negative things. The most potentially burdensome issue would be no protection from individual liability for things that go wrong, and the fact that your taxes, the taxes is not an issue. Let me move on. You file taxes for your business on the Schedule C of your personal income tax return, as if it were regular income coming in, and the expenses of your business you can also put on your taxes. But as I've indicated many times, there's unlimited liability. Nothing that you own will be protected from personal liability if someone feels that you did something inappropriate or did something wrong. Some examples of sole proprietorships include Francine's homemade cookies that she sells on eBay and to family and friends, Andre's tree trimming services. Any business can, in theory, be a sole proprietorship. And in fact, if you have not selected one of the other entities as a type of business, then you will be a sole proprietorship. But many businesses could benefit from a legal form with more liability protection. Then there's the general partnership, sometimes simply referred to as partnership. It is an association of two or more persons to carry on as co-owners of business for profit. Each partner contributes money, property, and/or services in return for an interest in the general partnership, shares in the profits and losses of the general partnership's business, and has equal rights in the management and conduct of the partnership's business. The partnership used to be the most popular type of entity that individuals engaged in when they were going in business with a friend. Because of the fact that with the partnership, your taxes are passed through. Whatever you gain or earn by way of the corporation, you pass it through on your taxes as income. And the expenses that you invest in the corporation, you can also show those expenses on your tax forms as well. When you have a general partnership, two or more legal entities or persons or other businesses form a general partnership. Each partner is liable for any of the other partners' mistakes. So in a general partnership, it's very important that you choose the person that you're going to be in partnership with because you're going to be responsible for whatever they do, and they're going to be responsible for whatever you do. All partners are considered self-employed for purposes of income tax. And the partnership itself is not a separate entity, so it doesn't pay any taxes. Examples of general partnerships include two gynecologists working together in an office, a clothing store owned by three friends, two people wanting to make a documentary film. I'm sure all of us know some of the individuals who are engaged in businesses of that nature. And then there's a type of partnership which is called a limited partnership. This is a type of partnership that's different from the general partnership. It's still formed by two or more persons with at least one general partner and one limited partner. The distinction, though, is that the general partners exercise control over the management of the limited partnership's business, and the general partner is generally the one that's going to be liable for any and all expenses. The limited partner won't have that responsibility. The limited partners contribute money, property, and/or services in return for an interest in the partnership. They share in the profits and losses of the limited partnership with the general partners in accordance with a written partnership agreement, or if there is no written agreement, the value of the unreturned contributions made by each partner. The key benefit of a limited partnership for limited partners is that generally the limited non-managerial partners are not liable for the obligations of the limited partnership. However, each general partner is liable for the obligations of the limited partnership. So in the limited partnership, the buck stops with the general partner. They are the ones that have the liability. But they are also the ones that have full control. So I guess it's, if they're making all the decisions, then they are the ones who should be liable for the decisions that they make. Then there is the corporation. The corporation is an artificial person or legal entity managed by a board of directors consisting of one or more individuals who collectively elect officers to run the corporation's day-to-day business activities. When you say it's an artificial person, as far as the law is concerned, it is a person and it has the rights to make decisions just as an individual would have those rights. And the law recognizes them as being a separate, complete individual, just as you and I are individuals. There are two types of corporations. There's the C corporation and the S corporation. For federal income tax purposes, the C corporation is recognized as a separate tax-paying entity. And with the C corporation, there's what you call double taxation. With the double taxation, what occurs is that income is taxed at the corporate level and shareholders have to pay taxes whenever they receive income from the corporation. So therefore, you're being taxed twice, once for the corporation, and then secondly for you as an individual once you receive money from the corporation. And with the C corporation, you can have multiple classes of stock with different interests in each of the class. In Virginia, corporations can be stock corporations, which are authorized to issue shares to persons who become shareholders, and they are the owners of the corporation, or non-stock corporations, which means they have members but not owners. Stock corporations are usually formed to generate a profit for the shareholders. And one of the benefits of the stock corporation is that when you are contemplating going into business, if you have a plan later on that you want to expand to do other things, it's good to have a stock corporation, because then you are able to sell shares of your stock to raise money to help you do the things that you would like to do later on. Non-stock corporations are usually organized for not-for-profit purposes, such as a tax-exempt charitable organization or property owners association. With the non-stock corporations, you have to be organized for certain purposes that are specified in the Internal Revenue Service Code. Profits are not distributed to members, but are reinvested in the corporation, because the whole idea behind the non-stock corporation is to benefit whatever issue in society you have determined to benefit. And if you want to, it is governed by a board of directors, and you are not able to make all of the decisions yourself, because the board of directors are the ones that make the decisions. When I was talking about corporations before I got to the non-stock corporation, I skipped the slide that dealt with the S corporations. And S corporations are corporations that elect to pass corporate income losses and deductions and credits to their shareholders for federal tax purposes. Shareholders of the S corporation report the flow through of income and losses on their personal tax returns and are assessed tax at their individual income tax rates. This allows S corporations to avoid the double taxation that I spoke about when I was talking about C corporations. There are some restrictions, though. There are a maximum of 100 shareholders, and only one class of stock is allowed, conferring identical rights of distribution and liquidation proceeds. Shareholders must be domestic individuals, meaning that they must be US citizens. Most complex to create and administer. Prior to the invention of the LLC, which I'll discuss later, the S corporation was a great idea because it allowed individuals, particularly individuals who were starting corporations, to pass through all of the initial cost of their incorporation, the building, getting everything up and running. You could pass those through as expenses on your income taxes, just as if you had done it personally. But now, since the development of the LLC, which we'll discuss later, the S corporation is not quite as popular as it used to be. With all corporation types, generally officers, directors, shareholders, and members are not liable for the obligations of the corporation. If you want to know about how much it costs to file as a corporation, you should contact the State Corporation Commission at the address listed on the PowerPoint. The primary benefit of the corporation is the fact that it provides limited liability and does not allow your personal assets to be able to be attached by individuals with whom you have a dispute. There is also a new business form in Virginia that was created in 2001. It is called a Virginia Business Trust. A business trust is an unincorporated association whose governing instrument sometimes referred to as the Declaration of Trust, provides that one or more trustees will manage property or conduct for-profit business activities on behalf of one or more beneficial owners. It is a separate legal entity, and generally its trustees and beneficial owners are not liable for the obligations of the business trust. It is not the ideal or most appropriate choice for most small firms. It is primarily used by large real estate holding companies where they have several properties that they are managing, and they want the flexibility of having a separate board of directors for each of the different properties that they're managing. The limited liability company, or LLC, is an unincorporated association of one or more members, the owners, who share the profits and losses of the company's business. It's managed in accordance with an operating agreement by one or more members. It is member managed or by one or more managers or manager managed. A limited liability company is a separate legal entity. Generally, the members and managers are not liable for the obligations of the limited liability company. LLCs enjoy the tax and liability benefits of corporations and the management structure of a partnership, meaning that you are exempt, your personal assets are not subject to being attached by individuals with whom you have a problem, but by the same token, you have the tax benefit as if you were a sole proprietorship, which means that you can pass through income and expenses to your personal account when you file your taxes at the end of the year. There's a percentage interest instead of shares. It's a very flexible operating agreement, can be specifically tailored to the type of businesses. Small businesses from virtually every industry could select this form. As the little cartoon up the front at the top shows you, the limited liability company provides you with a shield from tax creditors, lawsuits, and bailiffs. These are the benefits of the limited liability company. It is simple and affordable. It's relatively simple to create. If you go to the State Corporation Commission website, they have forms that you can use it. You're actually able to do it yourself if you decide to do it yourself. It provides limited liability for owners. The LLC, rather than the owners, are sued if a problem arises. The paperwork is less burdensome. It's more flexible and less burdensome than corporations in terms of filing paperwork and reporting. Also in terms of management, because if there is a operating agreement, the operating agreement is more informal than what's necessary with a corporation. Owners can choose to be taxed as a sole proprietor, a partnership, or C corporation, and can avoid double taxation depending upon which choice they choose. There are some simple steps to setting up a business in Virginia. As indicated, first you decide which business form is best for your company. Once you make that decision, you choose a name for the company, but before you actually try to incorporate or to develop the LLC or whatever it is you plan to do, you want to check with the State Corporation Commission to make sure the name that you want is available. That means that there's not some other individual or corporation or limited liability company that's already using that particular name. So you do the name check availability, and if you don't do it immediately, you can actually have the State Corporation Commission to reserve the particular name that you have selected as the name of your corporation. Excuse me. And you can complete the appropriate forms online of the SEC at the SEC website. Very simple to do. It is the simplest of all of the structures and provides the best protection. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to Attorney Edmonds at expertlegalcounseling.com. It's been a pleasure sharing with you today, and I look forward to your questions.
So thank you, Attorney Edmonds, for sharing with us today. And I wanted to see if we have any questions. I'm going to look and see if I have a hand raised. I see Ms. Stokes. Would you ask your question?
Good morning, Mrs. Edmonds, and thank you for speaking with us. I wanted to ask you a few questions, it's in the same realm, but I don't know if it's unrelated, so I'm just gonna ask my question. As when we become small business owners, do you recommend that we have like an attorney like yourself or a business attorney or like separate from the CPA, but that we have someone on retainer? Or does our business insurance cover that? So like for myself, I have a consulting business, and I just often think about just having an attorney on retainer, not because I'm planning on messing up, but I may mess up, this is my first time having a business. Not like I'm incorporating it. And then I think about insurance as well. I know we're talking about attorneys, but them two things kind of like who covers us? You know what I mean? Like if we do mess up and it turns legal, so should we just have someone? And if so, what is a reasonable cost to retain that service?
It's an excellent idea to have an attorney on hand, someone that you have on retainer, because then they're available to you whenever you need them for whatever service or issue that may arise. And it should be someone that you trust, someone that you feel that has your best interest at heart. And if you don't know of anyone personally, you can go to the Virginia Lawyer Referral Service sponsored by the Virginia State Bar, and they can recommend an attorney to you. But it's one of the main things that you need to do for purposes of your corporation. And you may actually look out and get someone who does not just business, but other matters as well. And they would be available to answer other questions and other legal issues for you as they arise as well. And it helps because then they know you and you know them, and it makes it so that it's easier for them to make decisions and to help you with the issues that may arise. So I think that's an excellent thing that you need to do.
Yeah, I was thinking about budgeting that along with my business insurance, because when you get to a certain point, sometimes me doing consulting and taking on some projects, I feel myself in a kind of gray area. Then I go back over to the black or white, and then I just don't do it. But I know that I could, but if I had some security, I probably would. You know what I mean? So that was one of my questions. And I found out too, I don't know about like everyone else, but this is something that I learned in starting my own business or been a small business. I'm still learning, but key thing I learned, it is okay to interview people that will be doing a service to you. Like Mrs. Edmonds was saying, like, interview your lawyers. And because we have a lot of people will recommend people to us, I noticed, and it worked great for them, A+, and I went to the same people and I'm like, oh man, they didn't give me specifically what I was looking for. So now I'm on this thing where if I need somebody to help me with my website, I'm interviewing, I'm showing pictures, just seeing who is a great fit for my vision. And I was thinking about doing that for a lawyer too. And I was thinking, well, can I wait? But now hearing you speak, it's like, yeah, that's something you need to consider as a startup cost. And it's something that's up there with, I don't know, service insurance. I don't know. It's needed though.
Well, you should look at it from this perspective. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if you have someone that's going to help you prevent problems before they occur, that's much better than someone that has to come back and try to fix the problems after the fact.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So what's a good price you think to have someone on retainer, or what's a reasonable price range just to have kind of like that security net, not like, just to retain?
Well, in this day and time, there are many, many, many attorneys all over, and you just need to kind of shop around. If you know people that know attorneys, and ask them who they have and what they think that the best attribute of that particular attorney is, and shop around a little bit. You don't have to be stuck with the first person that you select.
Yeah.
But go and the Virginia Lawyer Referral Service will allow you to set up an appointment. It will set up an appointment with an attorney, and the initial cost, I believe it used to be $50. I haven't checked it recently, but for an initial consultation, it would be $50. And then you would find out the cost. As I was saying to you, because there's so many different attorneys and there's so many different markets, like when I practiced in the Tidewater area, and I don't know, have no idea what the rate is for attorneys up in the Richmond area.
It's way higher than
But the
in
Virginia
this
State Bar
immediate area.
allows you to get a consultation for $50, and at that consultation, you will find out what their fee would be. And go online and look for yourself too. And they, the law firms generally put a good description of who they are and what they do. And sometimes they will actually even forego an initial consultation fee. So you may go that route as well.
Yeah. For from my research so far, I've been finding retainer fees starting at 1,000. But also those business lawyers that had those fees so far, the minimum has been 1,000. They are actually willing to break those up in 4 or break those up in 2 because they know you're a small business owner and they really, they know it's just a retainer. So they were pretty open.
So did you find someone that you were interested in?
Yeah, I had found a guy in Charlottesville that I was sort of interested in. But see, this is what I go off. I'm a customer service and a very communicative person. So if I, send you out, I'm like, hey, I just like to chat with you, get to know a little bit more about you, and I didn't hear anything back, then I just tend to stay away from them. They may be busy or a lot going on, but I like to chat. I'm a chatty patty. So that's one of the things I look for, the communication.
So what I'm going to do now, thank you so much, Ms. Smith, for actually always facilitate great conversations in this cohort. I love it when you ask the question. I know it'll answer several other people's questions when you ask yours. But I'm going to look and see in chat if we have any other questions. So I see appropriate price range. First slide, provide information where to get an attorney. Okay, so very good. So any other questions? Okay. Well, I would just like to thank everyone for attending this session. We will make this one available very soon. And then you'll be able to see the PowerPoint slides as you progress through the video presentation. I will ask Attorney Edmonds if she'd be willing to make her PowerPoints available as well. If not, then what we'll do is I will provide you with some additional links that you guys can access. One resource that I want to share with you guys that has a direct link to the SBA, and I'll put it in chat, is the vsuentrepreneurship.com tools page. There's a section on legal issues for business, and it takes you to all of the SBA and SCORE pages where you get a recap of what Attorney Edmonds went over today, not in as much detail, but it'll give you some basic information that you can reference repeatedly in order for you to make an effective decision. So we look forward to your successful businesses, and I am excited that you guys have attended. I do see one other question here from Addison Adams in chat. She asked, as an attorney, how did you begin to create your brand? So that's a different question. I don't know if you'd like to tackle it, Attorney Edmonds.
That is an interesting question. my brand is based on who I am. And I am a person who's always been interested in serving the community and in doing what I can to make things better for those who are around me. In fact, I started out as a prosecutor, and then I decided that that was not something that I was really interested in because I did not really have the heart to keep saying, put them away, but I felt like I wanted to help people. So I left the prosecutor's office and worked at legal aid for a while. And it was very fulfilling to work for legal aid because it gave me an opportunity to help poor people and to help them get on their feet.
Maybe you should tell them what legal aid is. I don't know if everyone is familiar with what legal aid is.
I bet you if we took a poll, everyone knows what legal aid is. Am I not correct? Everyone knows what legal aid is. Legal aid provides free legal services to individuals who have civil matters. I'm not talking about criminal matters. That would be the public defender for criminal matters, but who has legal issues that are in the civil realm. And after I worked at legal aid, I taught at the William and Mary Law School, where I taught students how to provide services to the indigent clients, particularly those who were 55 years of age or older. And I found that that was the most fulfilling type of client I could possibly have. They were so appreciative of whatever I was able to do for them, and it was an encouragement. And later I went into private practice, and in private practice, I represented my law partner who was involved as the attorney for the NAACP during the Greek Fest riots. And I tried the only lawsuit that ended in a favorable jury verdict for having violated the rights of my law partner.
The civil rights.
So violated the civil rights of my law partner. And I just always have wanted to help the community. And I've always fashioned myself as a person who wanted to do things that would empower not just myself, but empower the entire community.
And so now I see the motive that Addison has she's actually attending law school soon.
Oh, okay.
So now I see why she asked that question. I was wondering why someone would ask that. But thank you all for all of your questions, and I will post this video